Art thou the King of the Jews?
My kingdom is not of this world.
What shall I do then with Jesus, who is called the Christ?
Crucify him.
To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world.
I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it.
Father, the hour is come. Glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee. And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. I have glorified thee on earth. I have finished the work thou gavest me to do. Now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
He saved others. Himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God.
O righteous Father, the world hath not known thee, but I have known thee, and these have known that thou hast sent me. Woman, behold thy son. Behold thy mother. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I may take it again. No man taketh my life, but I lay it down of myself. Mary. Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren, and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father, and your Father, and to my God, and your God.
I have seen him.
O righteous Father, I have declared unto them thy name, and will declare it, that thy love, wherewith thou hast loved me, may be in them, and I in them. Go ye therefore, and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them all things whatsoever I have commanded you. know I am with you always, even unto the end of the world.
Dear Mr. President, with all due respect, sir, I must tell you that you are wrong about ISIL. You said ISIL speaks for no religion. I'm a former Muslim. My dad is an imam. I spent more than 20 years studying Islam. I hold a bachelor degree in religious studies, and I'm in the middle of my master's degree in terrorism studies. I can tell you with confidence that ISIL speaks for Islam. Allow me to correct you, Mr. President. ISIL is a Muslim organization. Its name stands for Islamic State. So even the name suggests that it is an Islamic movement. Their leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, holds a PhD in Islamic studies. I doubt you know Islam better than he does. He was a preacher and a religious leader in one of the local mosques in Baghdad. ISIL's 10,000 members are all Muslims. None of them are from any other religion. They come from different countries and have one common denominator, Islam. They are following Islam's Prophet Muhammad in every detail. They imitate him by growing their beards, shaving their mustaches, and in the way they dress. They follow his command in the hadith to differentiate themselves from the infidels by wearing their watches on the right instead of the left hand. They implement Sharia in every piece of land they conquer. They pray 5 times a day. They have called for a caliphate, which is a central doctrine in Sunni Islam, and they are willing to die for their religion. They are following the steps of Islam's Prophet Muhammad to the letter. By the way, if you want to understand ISIL, read the oldest biography of Muhammad by Ibn Hisham. This is their model for action. You think that ISIL does not speak for Islam because they beheaded an American and they killed those whom they consider infidels. In the same way, Islam's Prophet Muhammad beheaded in one day between 600 and 900 adult males in a Jewish tribe called Banu Qurayza. In fact, beheading is commanded in the Quran in Surah 47, the 4th verse. It says, when you meet the unbelievers in fight, smite at their necks. Ironically, this surah is called the Surah of Muhammad. Killing prisoners is also an order from Allah to Muhammad and to all Muslims. It says it is not for a prophet to have captives of war until he inflicts a massacre upon Allah's enemies in the land. Quran 8:67. And by the way, 3 of Muhammad's wives were Jewish girls he kidnapped from his raids on the religious minorities, just as ISIL is doing today. Mr. President, I grew up in Morocco, supposedly a moderate country, yet I still learned at a young age to hate the enemies of Allah, especially Jews and Christians. These are represented today by Israel and the West, especially the great Satan, America. I prayed 5 times a day, repeating Al-Fatiha, the first chapter in the Quran, asking Allah to lead me not in the way of those who went astray, and those who have the wrath of Allah upon them. We all knew that it is Jews and Christians. We have been brainwashed to hate all of you in our sacred texts, in our prayers, in our Friday sermons, in our educational systems. We were ready to join any group that one day would fight you and destroy you and make Islam the religion of the whole world, as the Quran says. This is what I and millions like me have been taught. Mr. President, this is an irrevocable fact. Fortunately, when I grew up, I chose to leave Islam and became a Christian because I believe that God is love. Others also left, and still every day they are leaving Islam and choosing different paths for their lives. All of them are suffering today because, again, Islam's prophet Muhammad said, whoever changes his religion, kill him. I left Morocco under persecution. I was fortunate. Others throughout the Muslim world do not have the same opportunity. They are paying a heavy price in different ways in order to get their freedom one day. I ask you, Mr. President, to stop being politically correct, to call things by their names. ISIL, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab in Somalia, the Taliban, and their sister brand names are all made in Islam. Unless the Muslim world deals with Islam and separates religion from state, we will never end this cycle. Until you deal with the root of the problem, you will be just dealing with the symptoms. ISIL is just one symptom. If it disappears, other ISILs will be born under different names. You might ask, then why does ISIL kill other Muslims? The answer is that they consider them infidels, not Muslims. Do you know that all 4 schools in Islam agree that if a Muslim stops praying, he should be asked to repent, and if he does not, he should be killed? Do you know that Muhammad tried to burn his own companions when they stopped coming to prayers? So anything that qualifies a Muslim to be an infidel can be a reason for killing him, even neglecting to pray. If Islam is not the problem, then why is it that there are millions of Christians in Middle East, and yet none of them has ever blown up himself to become a martyr? Even though they live under the same economic and political circumstances, and even worse. Why have many Muslims in the West also joined ISIL if Islam is not the reason? Why have even new converts to Islam become terrorists? Mr. President, if you really want to fight terrorism, then fight it at the root. How many Saudi sheikhs are preaching hatred? How many Islamic channels are indoctrinating people and teaching them violence from the Quran and the Hadith? How many Friday sermons are made against the West, freedom and democracy? How many Islamic schools are producing generations of teachers and students who believe in jihad and martyrdom and fighting the infidels? And finally, how many websites are funded by governments, your allies, that have sheikhs who issue fatwas against basic human rights? If you want to fight terrorism, start from there. By the way, I do not give my full name because Islam is a religion of peace. I'm known around the whole world as Brother Rachid, and I implore you to take a stand for international human rights and the future of democracy and speak the truth about the real threat that is facing all of us. Best regards, Brother Rachid. My name is Rachid. I'm a former Muslim. I left my own country because I was not allowed to leave Islam or criticize it. I am to be killed if I go today to any Muslim country. And now, when I came to the West, Muslims are trying to shut me off using another tool, Islamophobia. What is Islamophobia anyway? I never heard that term when I was in Morocco. They just told me that the apostate should be killed. But in the West, if you criticize Islam, you are accused of Islamophobia. Islam silences us in the East by threatening some of us, arresting some, persecuting others, and killing the apostates. But in the West, Islam is trying to silence us using this weird term, Islamophobia. I know that thousands were persecuted because of Islam, and thousands were killed because of Islamic terrorism. On the other hand, let me ask those who use this term, how many people were killed because of Islamophobia? You want to talk about Islamophobia? Then I want you to find a name for this, please. When I left Islam and converted to Christianity, I was rejected by my own Muslim family because Islam asks them to do so. I was persecuted by my own country because it's an Islamic country and the king is the prince of the believers. When I met secretly with Christians who were converts like me, we were not allowed to have Bibles in Arabic. We were not allowed to meet and worship. Those of us who wanted to marry had only one option, to do it as an Islamic marriage. We were not allowed to name our kids Christian names. Only Arab Muslim names were allowed. Our kids were forced to study Islam at school and memorize verses of the Quran. We met in homes. We closed doors and windows, and we sang quietly so nobody can hear us. We pretended we were just visiting friends in order to meet. We were forced to fast during Ramadan, and if we ate publicly, we would get up to 6 months in prison. We were forced to hear criticism about our faith and stay silent, because if we answer back, we would be arrested and sentenced to at least 2 years for shaking the faith of a Muslim. This did not happen in Saudi Arabia or Iran. This was in Morocco, one of the most moderate countries in the Muslim world. And it's not only me who suffered. Others, atheists, are suffering till now. Christians are suffering. Baha'is are suffering. Whoever criticizes Islam is suffering. What do you call this? Please give it a name. Freedomophobia? Islam is afraid of freedom. Freedom never killed anybody. People have the right to be afraid of Islam. This is not a phobia. This is a reasonable fear, because we see the fruits of Islam. We see it in Muslim countries. We see it in ISIS. We see it also in terrorism news everywhere, in Boko Haram, in Shabab in Somalia, in Saudi Arabia, in the beheadings, the crucifixions, the hand amputations, and the stoning. It's a real fear. Therefore, we will criticize Islam, and Muslims should live with that. Islam is not a race. I can criticize it without being afraid to be called a racist. Islam is a set of doctrines. I have the right to criticize it like any other doctrine. It's a set of ideas. People can denounce them, can criticize them, and can even hate them without being harassed or accused of hatred. Is it a hate speech if I hated an ideology? Islam is an ideology. Islam gives itself the right to criticize other religions, especially Christianity and Judaism. It should accept criticism from others as well. Muslims, for example, accuse Christians of changing their Bible and call them polytheists because they worship Jesus. So they should accept criticism toward their religion as well. Freedom goes both ways. It's not only good when it serves you. Muslims are people. Islam is an ideology. Criticizing and hating Islam does not mean hating Muslims. My parents are Muslims. Many of my family members are Muslims. I love them and respect them. But still, I criticize Islam without confusing the two. We should differentiate between them. My family members are not forced to be Muslims, neither any Muslim. They can denounce it. It's not their race or their DNA, it's their choice. If there is a phobia, it exists in Muslim countries, which are afraid of freedom, afraid of a bunch of Christians meeting in a house to pray, afraid of people eating publicly in Ramadan, afraid of a woman uncovering her hair. Those who keep preaching to us about Islamophobia should preach it to Saudi Arabia, who is afraid of a woman driving her car and afraid of a blogger who was blogging about freedom. Terrorism committed by those Muslim jihadists is obviously linked to Islam. We should not be afraid to say it. Nobody should be afraid of criticizing Islam loudly. We should not let anybody silence us or intimidate us using labels like Islamophobia or any other labels. Stand for your freedom and for your rights.